don't know what that was, but we're keeping it in. But hello, all you beautiful Bi-Conics wrestling nerds out there. And welcome back to another edition of the Takedown Troop, your weekly TNA wrestling. Yes, you heard me correct. Some of you in the comments told me that it's Impact. No, it's not. Get your facts checked. Get your eyes checked. Eat your carrots. They're good for your eyesight. But we are back once again to review another fantastic episode, in my opinion, of TNA Wrestling. We might be biased because we had a month's worth of clip shows and they kept teasing us. And then since Hard to Kill, we may or may not be biased about how much we love it. But honestly, you guys, you got to start giving TNA a chance. It's really, actually really good. And I'm going to bury the lead here, but I'm super excited to talk about what happened at the very end. The main event was fun, but after the main event, though, when it went off air and they teased me, then it didn't. I was like, I immediately went on the internet to see, did this person sign to TNA? I couldn't find anything concrete, but you know what? It doesn't matter. But I am your host, Mikey, and joining with me this week is my lovely host here at the Takedown Troop. We have all the way in Upper California, somewhere in the woods. Maybe he might have seen the Sasquatch in his time. Andrew is here. Love him to death. He's also one of the 4 Ring of Honor boys as well. And then, of course, joining me as always, you know him, you love him. He is the other third here at the Takedown Troop, but he is my other half over on NXT. Check out those shows. It is Will, who is our resident, I guess, called babysitter, ringleader, hurting all the children. That is the 9 of us.
Wait, did you just call Will old?
Yeah, I did. And that's okay. But just so you know, I have actually seen Bigfoot. So, like, 3 times.
I haven't seen Bigfoot, but speaking of Ring of Honor, I've seen a lot of Squatches lately, so I'm happy that we didn't get those on this card.
I saw an alien once, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
I also think my house is haunted.
Mine too. I got shadow people. It's really weird.
Ew, that's not fun. Vaya con Dios.
I have a house full of ants,
so before we jump into it, I just want to say this was also, for me personally, this was a fantastic episode. I thought there was a lot of good. There was one particular bit that I could have lived without, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. I'm just really excited. This is going to be really, really fun. So let's just jump straight into it. So TNA, after we get a bit of a recap of Hard to Kill and last week's episode, which didn't make me feel like I was being questioned on my sanity, and they didn't make fun of me. They didn't make fun of my intelligence, because sometimes when we get these recap packages, they pander and they tease my intelligence. I'm like, I'm smarter than this. You don't need to heavy hand the recap with me. But it was a nice, perfect lake and anything. And then we just jumped straight into our first match. One half of ABC, the ultimate finesser, Chris Bay, taking on a returning Kevin Knight. Listen, Kevin Knight has got yoked since the last time we saw him. Which, if I remember correctly, last time we saw Kevin Knight was during the 1000th episode of Impact Wrestling, when he was in the Feast and Fire match, and him and Kushida were running the gambit, like throwing people out during that whole chaotic feud. Also, shout out to Kevin Knight's theme song. It is a banger. I'd love to listen to it. This match ruled so much. I was just like, Kevin Knight just doesn't touch the ground. He's just, no wonder he's paired with Kushida. They defy gravity every single time.
His jumps, like, are no joke. They talked about it when they introduced him, but, I mean, the height and delay that he got on some of those jump attacks was crazy. I would like to see more Kevin Knight in TNA, please. So, let's just bring him back for some more, because that was super entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. both of these men. I was like, oh, yay, because I love Chris Bay as a solo fighter, and I just love how he's just so. I just like watching him. And then Knight, I mean, like I said, I remember saying before we came on is that I couldn't remember who he was. And so I had to go Google it, and I realized I had Googled him prior to that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, yeah. And yeah, right. Mikey, you're totally right. Completely looks different than the last time we saw him. I was sort of like, wow, look at you, man. You got yourself all kinds of, chiseled out. And, but yeah, he is just like a freaking flying squirrel, man. I was just like, he was in the air, I think, more than he was on the ground. It was really cool to watch. I was like, and I love that sort of juxtaposition and, to other wrestlers that we have that are more grounded. And it's really neat to see more, I think, more wrestlers that are willing to kind of go beyond those and hit the highlight up there. But I just loved it. It was great. Yeah, it was a great way to open the night.
Absolutely. And
This was great.
Not to take away from Chris Bay either. Chris Bay was like,
No.
the fact that Knight was so impressive with his aerial attacks, that we're talking about that and not about Chris Bay was like, I mean, because Chris Bay can move. I mean, the height that he got on that Art of Finesse at the end was insane. And that it was early on in the match too. Chris Bay went for some kind of flying attack, and Knight just countered it with like a drop kick and just caught him right as he was coming right off the ropes. Like, it was, these two went back and forth really well. It was a good matchup.
Indeed.
It was really, really good. I loved it so much. And then we kick off the first feud for the Tag Team Championships in 2024 and in this rebranded era of TNA. Because as Chris Bay and Ace Austin were in the ring celebrating Chris Bay's win, the ultimate party foul was committed by GYV as Grizzled Young Vets came into the ring and they laid the beat down on. I swear I didn't touch anything. It wasn't me. Wrestling gods, why? I appeased you. I gave you your sacrifice for this month. I gave you Vincent Kennedy McMahon no longer being a part of WWE. Isn't that enough for you? Huh. I had to make light of the situation because it is a shit show right now.
Yeah.
But something that wasn't a shit show, back to what we're talking about. Yes, I'm editing this, so therefore I'm allowed to curse. I'm just kidding. I keep my curses in, it's fine. Anyways, as I was saying before the wrestling gods decided to smiteth the recording for a hot second, GYV attack. And so they lay out Chris Bay and Ace Austin in the ring. Again, like I said, this sets up the first feud for these tag titles. We'll talk about what this entails because I'm really excited for what we get later when we get confirmation of what especially that looks like. But gents, I'm going to throw it to you. How did you feel about GYV coming down for the post brawl?
I'm a big GYV fan. I was so excited when they were signed to TNA. So for me, like, I liked two things really big about this is I love them playing to who they are and legit being the Grizzled Young Vets, jumping these two kids in the ring wearing their suits. Like, it was just, it fit for them so much, and I'm so here for that version of them. But also I love the fact that ABC is a part of Bullet Club and like gang tactics got used on Bullet Club because, they have a tendency to be the ones doing it. So it's kind of fitting, and I like what it's telling for the story for the feud between these two teams.
I'm super excited. Will, your thoughts, GYV? You got to see them at Hard to Kill, and now they're slowly making their presence. So what do you think?
they're great, but is it bad of me to say that I feel indifferent to all that? I mean, they came in and I was like, okay. Yeah.
I noticed it later. I was just like, they're wearing red and green. I was like, British Mario and Luigi, is that you?
Yeah.
Nah, I love GYV.
Yeah, I do too. I think they're great. I mean, we knew. I mean, and the reason I was sort of like, oh, okay, because we knew that this is what was going to happen. We knew from the very beginning. We're like, they're going to come in and stir all kinds of crap up. You know, we knew it, which is great. It's what they need to do. That's what they've needed. And because I think personally, I think that TNA tag team sort of division was becoming very stagnant. And now these guys are going to stir it up a bit, I think. And I love that. And I think that they needed that. And I think they knew they needed that. And so when they came in doing the thing, I was like, all right, cool. That's exactly what I thought you were going to do.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised by it. It wasn't like, oh my God, yeah. It was like, yeah, there they are. Okay, cool. Can't wait. We're gonna see more of this. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot more of it.
It's like Parney.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see GYV be able to do more wrestling per wise and not get stuck with characters, because I forgot to mention this, but me and Will have already... I mean, I know who GYV are all the way from the NXT UK days, but Will got an introduction to them kind of when they were part of the schism in NXT for a little bit. So I'm just excited to see more wrestling from them. From here, we then get our secondary segment for our a la perfume commercial-esque Ash by Elegance, like chilling by a pool in Vegas somewhere in her hot bikini. I was just like...
this is when I sent you the message going, wow, production values have gone up.
Like the lighting,
seriously.
like the shots of the frames. I was just
even like that particular promo. It's like, if you look at when we were Impact or even early on, you didn't get any of that. It wasn't that, dare I say, commercial. You know, it's very commercial. And I was like, okay. And so I'm like, obviously they got that bread coming in. So they're like, hey, we got it. Let's use it. Absolutely. I think absolutely. And it was great. I was like, I love this. I love this whole perfume ad, basically, is what it came off as. And I was like, yeah, this is great. I was like, good for you guys for having that new money coming in. So yeah,
I feel like the production value for Ash by Elegance's promo was higher than if you were watching this on the TNA app than the commercial that we kept seeing throughout the whole night of the Mummy Murders. Because I thought that was a promo the first time it came on, and then I realized it was for a TV show or movie or whatever it was, and I was like, wow, that looks bad. This Ash by Elegance commercial, though, was like, it was great. It's like, you can already see the character that they're doing. It reminds me of like an old school Sable, like that, just like that essence that she kind of brings into it. And I'm excited to see her finally get to work with the other knockouts, both face to face in promos, but in the ring as well. Because when I saw Ash as Dana Brooke, she's a very athletic person. She's clearly in really good shape, so I'm excited to see what she's going to do when we finally get to see her in full living color. So I thought this was a great promo. I'm looking forward to how they're going to build her up.
And it was such a, it's so funny. It's such a stark contrast between what she was and what she is. Yes. Because, before, you're right. She was athletic. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool, But now it's like bam, 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 bam. And I was just like, okay. All right. We all know in the commercial world, sex sells. There it is. Yeah, I will buy whatever you're selling. So let's do it. Because I was watching it going, wow, this is really good. Like literally, like the cinematography of it. I was like, then that's when I sent the message going, hey, their production values have gone up. Because wow, we've never gotten anything like that before, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. And
Oh
she
my
looked
goodness.
fantastic.
I'm excited for when Ash makes her in-ring debut because I'm hoping what this gimmick turns into is that she's hot and she's looking sexy and she's being very regal, and then she's gonna whoop your butt in the ring.
Whoop your
Because we
ass.
know
I know,
from her
exactly.
former iteration of Dana Brooke, like we know she can go in the ring. So I'm hoping that's what it turns into. But I'm really excited for this. And speaking of things I was excited for, we get our first backstage segment. We didn't have to wait 45 whole minutes to get this. Yes, I'm still bitter at the other show that me and Andrew reviewed not too long ago with Ring of Honor. We didn't have to wait 45 minutes before the first backstage segment. So I'm going to set this up real quick. Then we're going to go into our thoughts. So this is Frankie Kazarian's time. He talks about what he did last week where he turned on Eric Young. And then everyone wants to know why I did it. Well, guess what? You're going to have to tune in next week to figure out why I did this. And then we had Rich Swann come in and kind of like, yo, man, this isn't you. Like, how could you do that to Eric Young? You're a TNA original. He's a TNA original. Like, what's up with that? And then Frankie Kazarian, read him the semi-riot act because he ran him down. And it was just like, listen, Rich, I was just like, you were on Explosion just now against Joe Hendry, which, by the way, I did not know that was a thing that came back, which makes me excited. So Explosion is kind of like the dark matches for other promotions and stuff like that. But which are now going to air. They tape those things. They are on the TNA app, available on Fridays, I think I read, and then it's going to be on YouTube Tuesdays. But this match was Rich Swann versus Joe Hendry, so I'm going to have to watch that match at some point, on YouTube when it gets released. But yeah, Frankie Kazarian kind of read Rich the Riot Act. It's like, if you want to know, you're going to have to tune in, find a monitor, and sit your happy little butt down while I talk next week. And that leads Frankie to leave. And then we get a secondary promo because then AJ Francis walks in. And it's just like, look, man. He's trying to get intel from Rich Swann about how to deal with Joe Hendry. And Rich is like, yeah, man, nah, we're good. And just walks off. But man, AJ, I kind of like AJ Francis's little promo here. Is like, me and you is like 4 years ago. Where did we meet? At the back of the plane. And where are you still sitting? In the back of the plane. It's like, me, on the other hand, I'm sitting first class, front row. I was like, you could be up there with me. Tell me what you know about Joe Hendry. Rich one's like, yeah, no, we're good. He kind of walks off, and AJ's like, all right, that's fine. And then that's where this little segment ends. So let's start with Frankie Kazarian. Great talking, guys.
Well, I'm like, well, I don't. This is a difficult one because I don't really know where I fall on it yet. On what Frankie's doing, I think it's one of those I'm gonna have to wait and see next week and see where I kind of fall. Because I mean, if they're gonna turn him full heel, okay, that's cool. But I want to know, because I'm just like, why are we doing it? If that's what, if that's where we're going, and I don't want it to, and I hope it's not, because I hate those like suddenly I'm a bad guy. It's like, no, don't do that. Especially considering all the history we have with Frankie, and then because I mean he attacked Young last. I mean, that was just like, that was a villain move, man. That was like, truly, it was a villain move. And I was just like, what just happened? I mean, what clicked? What happened previous to this? Or what happened? I mean, because I'm sorry, that one little incident in ring did not just turn Frankie Kazarian into like the ultimate like villain. I'm like, so I don't know where it's going. So I don't know where I don't know where I fall on this yet. And I think I need to wait and see the explanation, quote unquote, next week, hopefully. I know he said next week, but you never know. And see kind of where I fall on this, because I don't really know. I don't have the words for it, because I don't know where I don't not where I want to fall on it, but where I'm gonna fall on it. So yeah, I don't know. I just
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I mean, the attack that Frankie did on Eric was pretty vicious. Like, that clothesline he hit him with when they showed it in the replay, I was like, dang, that was rough. And I mean, I'm here for a full Frankie heel turn. But like with a lot of things, this whole promo between all three of them gave me ideas for like, ooh, could they do this? Could they do that? Where are they going to go with this? So I'm hoping that my thoughts on like Frankie turning heel seems to kind of fit with like the system and what they've formed. Like, it's like people are seeing this rebirth of TNA, and it's this idea of like, where are we gonna fit? How do I stay on top? How do I like become the face of this new thing? This is our chance to like seize, control while other things are going on and new stuff's being developed. And Frankie's got so much experience with TNA and just professional wrestling. Like, I could see him becoming, one of the big heels, and it would be great because he could be very different from Moose, who's obviously like the leader of the system. And so I'm interested to see where it goes, but I agree with you, Will, that it's going to be like, okay, you've got me interested, but now what are you going to do with it? Let's see how you're going to develop that and build it. I've got some thoughts. Like, I hope that the inclusion of Rich Swann, at least, if not Rich Swann and AJ Francis, is going to play into some other stuff too. Like, there's going to be more dimensions to it. Because I'll be honest, and it's nothing against Rich Swann, but Frankie wasn't wrong in a lot of the stuff he said about Rich Swann, and part of that was just how he was being used. So maybe this is going to be Frankie going to people and, just kind of telling them the truth and going like, look how you were treated, but why don't you come with me, and then maybe we can take what we deserve, if they're not going to give it to us, kind of a thing. So
do you think Frankie is forming a new faction?
That's one that when I saw that interaction with them, and because Swann was kind of like thinking about it for a minute and then trying to be a good guy and trying to be like, no, Frankie, come on, let's like do the right thing and stuff. I could see him doing it. Like, Frankie he seems like he could play that like leadership heel to get people to follow him. I wouldn't mind. I'd love if we had some more factions in TNA.
I agree. Me too.
So I'd be down for it. I don't know what's going to happen. He might be just the solo, don't care about anybody else kind of thing, but I wouldn't hate him building another faction too, even if it's just a couple other guys with him, or, a couple guys, a couple ladies, whatever, the whole gambit. So I'm hoping they're going to do well with it, because I think it could be really good for Frankie and TNA.
Well said.
Well, I mean, but if you look at it, not to harp on all of this, but to go too long, but if you look at the system, who I was very sus about at the beginning, now they're kind of like the sort of good guys, all of this. Like, we know they're not good guys, but it's like, I don't know, it's like, it feels different. Like, Eddie Edwards and Alicia Edwards, they feel different to me. It's like you don't see, they're not their normal sort of like snaky, conniving, loud, boisterous. You want to just like knock them both out and, whatever, just to shut them up. I mean, it's like they're actually part of like a team. Like the team works well together. That's what's so great about it. And it's, even though, it's very like propaganda, it's very, it's a little cringy when they talk about trust the system. I just think, Big Brother's watching, that type of thing. But it's like, I don't hate them. It's like, I don't hate the system. I'm actually starting to like the system. And I'm just like, oh huh. So I want, I don't know. It's just really weird. And of course, there's always that. We always are going to have that damn Eddie Frankie thing in my brain. And I'm like, is this like Frankie forming his own faction, because Eddie has his, It's like, I'm just like, is that what's happening here? Because can we not? Can we just form
hopefully,
a faction
as we go on, we'll forget more about that, which was my worst feud of 2023.
Oh, it was horrible.
I think with the system, like, I understand what you're saying too, is like they feel almost like a cross between like politicians and like old school like mafioso. Like, they take care of each other, they take care of the group. If you're gonna follow them and be behind them, then they're gonna be there for you. But they're not gonna let people or the rules stand in their way to get what they want. Which puts them, in a very different position. And they do seem very supportive of each other, which may not last forever. But they've done well with that group already. So I'd love it if we can get another well-developed team. So
Agreed. So, all right, I'll stop.
I tried to prolong that as much as we could because I really don't want to talk about what happened next, but we must. We have to.
Can we just glaze over it?
No, we got to talk about it.
Happened, something happened next, and so I had that next match afterwards. So,
I wish I could, but the thing is that as review hosts, we have to do our due diligence, and we have to take the good with the bad. That is the coin that is professional wrestling. So this is the only thing I had to critique about this whole entire episode because I don't know where we're going with any of this. But we had a tag team match. We had Dirty Dango and Oleg Prudius taking on local talents Dante King and Damian Drake. Why is just the question I have to ask. Why was this here? I know the collective sigh.
So Andrew obviously has some thoughts on this.
Share your feelings.
So it's hard because watching this match made me realize my biggest issue with this group. Speaking of factions, we basically have a faction between the three of these guys. I feel like Dango could be such a better heel with a different gimmick and like design. Like the way that he behaves and the skills that he does and what we did with this match would have sold so much better if he played more into that like one thing that just doesn't make sense to me is his like jorts that he wears, to wrestle in. Like, I don't understand the denim look. It doesn't fit for the presence that he's trying to bring across. And I get what they were going for with like the whole, him basically just sending in his muscle, hanging out because he's got better things to do, not even caring until he wants to get the win, and having Oleg Prudius be that, that enforcer for him. But I feel like it would come across much better if he was like a heel that you were scared of. And right now he just comes across more like a joke.
Yep.
The two best parts of this match for me was what's his name? Alpha Bravo commenting on him being the dirtiest of the Dangos. When he introduced Dirty Dango, I did chuckle a bit at that. But Allison Lee, I think, or Lee, the referee, was the most entertaining part of this match.
Yes.
Of like, she just was like, "What's going on? Like, why are you on your phone?" Like, he got in the ring, he was still on the phone. She's like, "What are you doing?" Like, her reactions were the best part of this match, which I don't feel like should be the case. I think we've got some really good referees right now in professional wrestling, but they shouldn't be the best parts of the match. And I don't think it was her fault. I don't think she was upstaging anything. It was just that I understand what they're going for, but it didn't land how I think they wanted it to land.
Yeah, my favorite moment in this match was when it was over.
Yeah, that's about sums it up.
Yeah,
Well,
it
moving
was
on.
so
No, just kidding.
bad. It was just, it wasn't even bad. I was literally like, why is this here?
This should have been
I
your
literally,
explosion.
I was like, I don't even remember what I sent you, Mikey.
Yes.
I like texted you something like,
Let me see if I
what
can
was the
read
purpose
this.
of that, or what the hell was that, or what's like.
Let me see if I
don't-
can read it verbatim.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was just like,
Law has transpired.
I know. I said gross at one time because
You did.
Dango is gross. I mean, it's just gross, and not in the good way. It's like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what he wants to be. That's my thing, I guess. That's my. I don't know what his character's supposed to be. I don't even know. Is he a thug? Is he like a? I don't know, like a playboy, or it's like, what the hell are you? I mean, you have a hype man, and
Found it.
You have the muscle. Do what?
I found the text message. So verbatim, let me read this. So this was in the span of a few minutes. So first, Will said, "Wow, production levels have elevated. LOL." So in talks of Ash by Elegance.
Yep.
Then gross, throwing up emoji. I say LOL. Then in all caps, what was the point of that match? I write no clue. The next thing, I don't know if it was pertaining to that or not. You're just like, interesting. I don't want to watch. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch.
Interesting. I don't want to watch. I just literally don't want to watch because it was. I don't even. Oh my god. So, I ever since I first was introduced to this group, I didn't understand them. I don't get them. I don't. He's like, he wants to be a bad guy, like, and I think that's the thing that irritates me. Is he wants to be a bad guy as opposed to just being a bad guy? It's like, is that your thing? Is that your shtick? Like, oh, look at me, I'm being a badass, but not really. It's like, because the outfit and then the idiotic hype man. I mean, your hype man's not even like cool. Your hype man's a dipweed. I mean, truly is. And then your muscle. Okay, but what the hell? I was like, what do these three things have to do with each other?
Yeah,
That's my whole thing. I'm just like, and then that's when they first walked out. That's when I said gross. When he took he didn't take it off. Bravo took it off of him, and I was like, gross. Usually
His
I'm here for
vest.
man on man stuff, but that was gross. It was bleh. Then he sat in that damn chair, and I was like, I can't with this. I just can't. I just don't want to watch this.
I feel like Dirty Dango, Alpha Bravo, and Oleg Proteus are, and I'm going to mention another promotion, if you ordered Christian, Kill Switch, and Nick Wayne off of Wish.com.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm here for that. Absolutely.
I love it so much. All right. Well,
yeah. Oh.
We said our piece. The consensus was we hated it. And we're going to purge it from our memories. So then we get a quick backstage promo from Grizzled Young Vets. And then ABC hops in because they want to beat the bricks off them. Like, Chris Bay and Ace Austin, they went Bullet Club ghetto. They were like, hold my earrings. We're going to fight right now. So good. I love that Santino is still here, and I'm happy that,
I know, I was so excited.
He's still the deputy of directors here. And I was like, Scott Demore is helping everything, but Santino is the on-screen general manager character. It is so refreshing to see.
It is.
General manager characters right now are kind of popping off on a lot of these promotions out here. I love it so much. But Santino first berates GYV for what they did, and then ABC come in to beat the bricks off of them. And then Santino has, honestly, one of my favorite ideas, and I like a lot of his ideas. He says, you know what? It's like, I want to make a things spicy. I died. I was like, Santino's so good. Please keep him TNA. Don't let him go anywhere else. You have a gem. Please get Santino and Joe Hendry to do more stuff together because I will die of laughter. But Santino says that GYV wants to fight, ABC wants to fight. Let's have a whole alphabet soup of things. And this sets up a 2 out of 3 series in which the first team to win 2 matches will become the TNA World Tag Team Championships. And I was just like, thank you. This is great. We're not trying to waste our time and waiting to build feuds for these tag titles. We're just jumping straight in right away. And honestly, 2 out of 3 matches, like, I am sold. Give me my money. These matches are going to be a banger.
Yeah, these 2 teams will put on some great matches. And yeah, it was a brilliant way to really lean into building up the new year for TNA. And I agree. Santino is, every time he's on the screen, it's so good, so entertaining. He's just so charismatic in the way that he presents his characters, and he's so, like, 100% of the time into it, and you can tell that he's enjoying it, and he makes it fun for everybody that's there. Yeah, he does such a good job, and I 100% agree that they need to make sure that Santino that's his career is there, because he is such a good part of TNA.
Oh, he is. I think every time he comes on, the ratings go up.
I just can't wait until he has to really, like, enforce his authority and we get a visit.
Get this Cobra.
Yes. I can't wait.
I love Santino. I'm so happy that Santino decides to still be involved with wrestling, but not having to get in the ring. Well, when he doesn't have to, which is amazing. Also, shout out to his daughter, Ariana Grace in NXT. I'm like, she's killing it over there too. I was like, I see where you get your comedic chops from. Your dad and you are hilarious. I love it. These 2 out of 3 series matches is going to be great. And then we get a backstage promo from the Motor City Machine Guns and the Rainmaker himself, Kazuchika Okada, a man of few words. Here are my 2 things that I wrote down for these notes. Number 1, dang, I forgot how tall Okada is standing next to Sabin and Shelly. I was like, that man is tall. And then the second thing I wrote comes from the text thread that Will and I have on Discord about TNA. And I was just like, wow, Okada is tall. Will, did Sabin get work done? I was just like,
He did. He looks like he's had a little bit of. He's had a little.
I mean, they are in Vegas.
I mean, because his complexion was very smooth. Like,
he went to a spa day. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Because to me, it looked like someone grabbed the back of his head and shook him, and it just, like, tightened that up. I was like.
He went to a spa day. Ash by Elegance invited him with a couple other people.
It looks more like
Ash by Elegance spa day vignettes is what I want now.
Yeah, me too, actually.
With Santino.
It looks like he had Botox.
With Santino, yes.
Oh my god, how fun would that be? I love that.
But yeah, so essentially all this amounts to is that Motor City Machine Guns aren't afraid of the system. They're gonna whoop a lot of butt in that ring. And then, Okada just says, he's like, you know what? We're going to do this thing. And I was like, yeah, Okada, this is going to be great. I'm so excited when we get to the main event. I was like, everyone has no idea how much all 3 of us have collectively been waiting since we first learned that Okada was coming to these tapings. Okay. Gotta emotionally prepare myself now. Woo, child. Okay. So then we're like halfway through the show. And I was like, okay, everything outside of, what we purged from our memory earlier, everything has been pretty solid. Then we literally start hour 2 with this match, and then it's just step on the gas for the rest of the second half of the show. Because then we start the second hour with the TNA Knockouts World Championship match. Trinity, I can't believe I'm saying this, the challenger is taking on the champion, Jordan Grace. It took me a while to get used to saying that, but listen, if Hard to Kill was chapter 1, for me personally, this was the second chapter in this. I'm kind of upset we're not going to get a third to end the trilogy with this, because this match was just as good. If not, there were some inventive spots that didn't happen at their match at Hard to Kill. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This match was just as good, if not a slightly better than their first match at Hard to Kill. And now I'm sad because I want these two to fight forever, but now we don't get to do that. But this was still a hard-hitting match, man. Jordan Grace continued to throw her weight around and let Trinity know what's having it. But what I loved during this match in particular, even if it was just a tiny bit, I love that Trinity took her match against Jordan at Hard to Kill, and there were times where she slightly countered Jordan's power a little bit. That head scissor, like leg drop kick, whatever you want to call it, like in between the middle rope that Trinity did to Jordan is still a thing of beauty. And I hope she keeps it in her repertoire because that was awesome. This match was so good. It was so good. Though, Will also, just as a side note, did mention to me a very funny comment. It's just like, I can make Trinity a better coat than the one she had on tonight.
It was so badly made. I mean, it was like they just took some random white fur and like hot glued it to it or something. I don't know, but I'm like, girl, you need a better coat, and I could make you one.
Will would make her one too.
He would be bitching. I mean, I was just like, at first when she first came out, I was like, oh, I love the coat. Oh no, I don't like it. I was like, oh no. Yeah, it was not good. I don't know whoever put that together. Shame on you.
Shame on you for the coat. The coat, I was like, not my favorite, but so whoever wants to go, this match, what did we think? And then we'll talk about the ending.
It was interesting watching the slight difference between the two of them, because like it surprised me Trinity attacked off the handshake, and then she seemed to be meaner. Like the way that she was attacking Jordan Grace just seemed to have a more ill intent on it. Like she always has that, like, I'm going into a fight and I have to beat my opponent, but this one was almost like she was mad because Jordan Grace took away her title, and so she was like, I gotta get that back. And for the way that they threw everything in this match was super impressive, considering that we know this was previously recorded and it was part of the tapings that were just the day after Hard to Kill. So to do those two matches back to back like that, that's super impressive. I really liked Jordan Grace's counter of, I think it was a neck breaker where she was stuck in the ropes and Trinity went to hit it and she just was like, no, I'll just hold on to the ropes because I'm hella stronger than you are. And so that was just like a nice little play into that. That delay superplex that Jordan Grace hit like from the second rope, then got up and turned it into a jackhammer right off of that was crazy. The ending sequence where they went back and forth for ones for a long time, at a certain point I was like, all right, it's getting a little long in the tooth here, but it actually made sense because it was like Trinity countered it because she was like, okay, I see what's going on, I'm going to counter you into this, and then Jordan Grace just used that momentum, and so the way it played out, I was like, okay, no, that worked because you did have to build up such a rhythm that everybody was just going to continue with that momentum, so a slight shift would just take somebody off balance, and it played really well into, you know, what they were doing.
Now we'll hear from our resident stan of Trinity, William. What say you?
Well, you know, I mean, I knew what it was going to happen. We know that because we know that Trinity. We know that. So I wasn't as like upset of this one, like the fight itself. I was like, yeah, this fight was great, and I agree. And she was a little more aggressive, you know, in this. But at the end, she was very much like, well done, you know, you are I would love to have actually heard what they were saying to each other. You know, because it looked like it was like, you know, you're doing great, you're gonna be amazing. I mean, it literally looked like Trinity was saying, "You got this, girl," basically. But I would love to know what they were actually saying. So the match was exactly it exceeded my expectations. But it was the outcome I knew that was going to happen, so I wasn't like all like I was the first time. And so yeah, I liked it. The match was great. However,
let's talk about this ending then. So as the two are shaking hands, we get a surprise attack. As I'm channeling my inner Nyla Rose. Every time I say surprise, I have to channel her because she says it's surprise, chick. Anyways, the Shantaraj come and attack Jordan and Trinity after the match. You know, Jay Vidal, Savannah Evans, and your Knockouts Ultimate X winner, Giselle Shaw, they kind of beat down Jordan and Trinity. And Giselle, with the rest of the Shantaraj, come to the middle of the ring after said beatdown. Giselle holds up the Ultimate X, and you know what? I mean, spoiler alert. If we knew that Trinity was going to be in her hometown of Orlando for those tapings, so to speak. So this means to tell me I'm pretty sure we're getting some sort of tag team match with Jordan and Trinity, Giselle and Savannah. Or actually, if you wanted, yeah. So I'm okay with this. And honestly, if this ends up being the last match for Trinity, honestly, I'm okay with this being the way. I would like to see Trinity win this tag team match as like a bow on her journey in TNA. Don't let her lose. Please don't let her lose. And I don't think they will, because if she's teaming with Jordan against the Shantaraj, you can't have Jordan lose in this match either. So.
Well, I think it's a smart way to do it as opposed to having her face Giselle one-on-one. Because if she faces Giselle one-on-one, you know Giselle's going to win. Because they have to keep her strong going into facing Jordan with that Ultimate X cash-in. So if they do a tag team match with all of them, I think you can't, like, obviously you can have Savannah Evans take the pin, and everybody that's in that title picture gets to look strong. I enjoyed it. We talked about factions, and I forget about other factions that we already have. We do have the Shantaraj, which I'm happy to see more action from them, because I would like to see both Jay Vidal and Savannah Evans get to do more stuff. And watching Savannah Evans go after Jordan Grace and then kind of seeing her stand there made me realize, I was like, Savannah Evans could be a fun addition to like the digital media title. Like, I'd like to see her go in there, and she's another, beefcake that could wrestle with the men in that division too, and she could potentially have a crazy match with Crazy Steve. So I hope we get to see more from them, but I have faith that they're going to do Trinity's exit and the build to Jordan's reign well. They've done the build up to it really well, so I have faith in what they'll do leading up to everything.
Well said. I'm excited, at least for what we know. We get to see Trinity one more time before we tie a bow on her journey. Man, it's been a crazy 6, 7, 8 months since she debuted back in the spring. So then, I might be the only one who thinks this, but I'm happy about somebody who popped up in this next backstage segment. So first, we get cameraman, just a minor critique. I love Josh Alexander's beautiful face, but I don't need the camera to be that close to his beautiful face. Like, that was really close. I was like, my eyes. I was just like, your wife is a very lucky woman. Anyways, so Josh Alexander is cutting this quick promo to the camera.
He's not suffering either, let's be honest.
No. See, they're both... Listen, as one of the two resident bisexuals, like, I'm 50-50 ogling my men's and my women's and my non-binary folks equally, so it's all good time. But Josh is cutting this promo talking about how he's ready to have a good year, and in fact, he's had a really good year so far. And he's slowly building back up for everything. And then my little heart was happy because we got, first of all, the height difference between Josh Alexander and this person that interrupts is funny just from a comedic standpoint. But the one person that I have been shouting to return is going to be, which I think might be a fun feud for Josh Alexander to begin with. Alan Angel shows up and interrupts, and essentially he's a little more positive than the last time we saw him, which is very interesting to see. And he invites Josh Alexander to the what's it called? Like his talk show.
Sound check.
The premiere
Yeah.
episode of his new
Yeah, it's his new talk show, the Sound Check.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, cool. Listen, I don't know where we're going with this, but I am happy that Alan Angels is back on my television screen. And in my notes, I literally wrote, happy Alan Angels is back. Dang, he's shorter than I remembered.
Yeah. It's like a mini version of Alexander. I was like,
It didn't help that they have the same look
Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
exactly. That's why I was like, what is
They
this?
could be a twin. No, now I want the Bald and Beautiful tag team.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, how did we feel about Alan Angels having his own talk show now and Josh Alexander being the first guest on it? Which, by the way, Josh was very hesitant at first and then kind of like, I guess.
I think it's sus. I think something's gonna happen.
We have all been trained by professional wrestling that anytime that a wrestler has the in-ring talk show, it never goes as planned and it always goes awry.
If you told me that someone in their new gimmick or their plans for going into 2024 for TNA were going to get a talk show style segment, I would not have guessed Alan Angels, but there's clearly a difference with his character. He came in with a leather jacket. His earrings were even a little different. He, like you said, he was much more energetic and excited. So I'm interested to see where they go with it. I'm happy that they're giving him something because he's an incredible performer. So I'm happy to see what he can do with more airtime, to actually speak. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does and how this leads into what Josh Alexander is going to have going forward. If we see unexpected people show up, maybe surprises, or if he puts Josh Alexander on the spot with, some of his actions or whatever. But it's got me interested to see what's going to happen on the next episode with this.
I am excited. And I actually, as crazy as it sounds, I would love for this to be Josh's first feud post Alex Hammerstone and Will Ospreay, since I'm still hoping that I'm holding out hope that Alex Hammerstone will be back. I would love to see Hammerstone sign with TNA. But anyways, the Bald and the Beautiful are going to be in the ring together at some point. That is what I'm going to call them until TNA makes it happen as a tag team.
Heck yeah, I'll support that.
Okay, but also, as soon as I was told what was next, though, I had to mentally prepare myself because, woo howdy, this match also exceeded a lot of my expectations, and it made me so happy to see this person. Next, we get Zachary Wentz versus, debuting in his first match in ring for TNA, Nickneth. God, I've missed this man in the ring so much. I've missed him so much. And also, I kind of want Trey Miguel's overalls, so I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
I want
That
his
was a dope look. Yeah.
I was just like,
With
yo,
the
the
glasses?
overall. Yes, I was like, the overalls
Yeah.
are kind of coming back, you guys. I may want to order some for me, but outside of the main event, for me personally, this was my match of the night too, just because It's been so long since I seen Nick in the wrestling ring since being let go from WWE, which, by the way, shout out to Matthew Raywald and Tom Hannafan for being the few commentators that are not afraid to mention when these wrestlers come from other companies.
Oh, yeah.
And they mentioned WWE on TNA. I was like, do it, WWE, you cowards. I'm just kidding. But there was a little part of this match I got worried for because, like, after, it looked like Zach tweaked his knee a little bit, which got me worried. Because then they stopped for a couple of seconds because Zach, we needed to make sure he was okay. But Trey pulled it off beautifully because as the ref was going to check Zach, Trey jumps on the ring and, like, blindsides Nick. And then we get back to the action. I was like, I don't know if that was planned or if it was improvised, but doesn't matter because you made me believe in it. Like, that was so good. I'm still of the mindset that I'm going to start the hashtag, call it the Knick-Knack instead of the Danger Zone. I want this finisher to be called the Knick-Knack, not the Danger Zone. But I'm going to come to you, Andrew, first. Between the three of us, me and you have more of a history with Nick Nemeth and his body of work. How did you feel about his debut in-ring match here in TNA tonight?
Yeah, I really enjoy Nick Nemeth. Like I've said before, he is kind of that carrying on the legacy of, that kind of like he plays an homage to Shawn Michaels, Heartbreak Kid, all that kind of stuff. So I will say my one complaint about this was I missed his old boots. Those white wrap boots were just, I love the way those looked. But I was really happy that this wasn't a squash match for his first match in TNA. He faced some adversity against Zachary Wentz, which also gave Wentz a chance to kind of shine and show how good he is. But then it also looked that much better when Nick Nemeth was able to, overcome a lot of those challenges, especially considering that he was he had to worry about somebody outside. I do like. I think part of the reason that they're naming it something like the Danger Zone is because it looks like they're making that move a match ender. Like it's like he hits that and it is like that's it. Because the way he finished that match and then later on, like it's you get hit with this and you're down for the count. Like so. I like that they're giving his finisher that kind of treatment because I appreciate it. When you hit a finisher, it's a finisher. It should finish the match. But I'm excited to see what he's going to do here, especially once he starts feuding with some of the top competitors. Like we've already seen what's going to be his first feud, but some of those people that are at the top with the title, Nick Nemeth versus Alex Shelley, Nick Nemeth versus Josh Alexander, Nick Nemeth eventually against Moose. Like, I mean, there's so many people that he's going to have amazing matches with. And this is like, we're at the first step of a journey that's going to be so much fun. So I'm super excited for it.
I love it. I'm excited. Will, this is your first introduction really to any type of wrestling because this is really the first time you've seen Nick Nemeth wrestle. So, how did you feel about the match itself, and what are you looking forward to Nick being in TNA?
Well, first of all, I hated his pants. Those pants were not flattering.
They also fell down too a lot.
Yeah, they did. I was literally like, no, you need new pants. I liked it. I think he's great. I don't know him. I don't have the history with him, so I can't be all gushy about him. But I like him. After this match, it actually made me like him a lot. So, and any time that the Rascals get their asses kicked, I'm good with that too. So, and I really liked it. I mean, I think I even texted you something about it, didn't I? I texted you, Mikey. I think something about Nick.
Hang on, let me pull up the chat.
Yeah, you'll have to. I know it's like
there's some good one-liners in here.
because I was like, oh yeah, I don't remember what it was, but
Okay, here we go. It's like, I hate Nick's pants. LOL. This
I
next
love
one
that our
is,
biggest complaints were
Yeah.
about his pants and his boots.
well,
We loved it. Get a new costume.
seriously. So this is the order. I hate Nick's pants. LOL. And I mean, this also kind of talks about like what we were saying. Why Trey suddenly looking like a sexy nerd? Which is true. The overalls and the glasses, man. I was just like, it's making a comeback.
Well, and then the no shirt with all the tattoos.
Yes!
Like, yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
that was like,
I was like, why is Trey Miguel a sexy nerd? I said the laughing emoji. And then the last two things that Will says in regards to this match, that leaping, stalling DDT was awesome, which I totally agree with.
Yep.
And Nick is a beast, which I also agree with.
That DDT is one of his signature moves. And
So good.
What does he call that elbow? He does that like jump, like hitch elbow thing. It's got a name. I forget what it is. They called it that. But like, you were getting to see a lot of his signatures.
that DDT was badass. I was like, I've never seen anything like it before. That's why I was like, that was so cool. I like rewound it like 2 times to watch it again. I was just like, what did he do? I mean, just, I don't know. It was pretty. That's why I was like, that leaping, that thing was amazing. And then that's when I was like, Nick's a beast. And I think that was at the end of the match when I said that. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'm sold on him. He's great.
And then what made me even more excited is post-match, Steve Macklin. Well, the Rascals first beat down on Nickneth. He kind of stays them off a little bit. And then like a vulture picking from the Remnants, Steve Macklin comes in to get a lick in. Nick also kind of pushes back a little bit.
He's such an opportunist, Macklin.
But it makes sense if I'm being completely honest.
I know.
But I am really excited for Macklin and Nickneth when we get it down the line.
Absolutely. Especially when Nick turned that on him so smoothly. I was just like, and when he did what's called the zigzag, I think is what it's called.
That's what it used to be called. Now it's called the Danger Zone.
The Danger Zone.
Still be called the Nickneth. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay, that's fair. Danger Zone sounds so. Come on, come up with something better. But when he did that, and I mean Macklin, he hit. He was like, bro, and I was just like, what just happened? I was like, oh my god. So it made me like him even more. I was like, because he beat up on Macklin, and I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay.
I feel like they're making I was going to call it the Knick-Knack. I feel like they're making the Danger Zone kind of like Austin Stunner. Like, it'll come out of nowhere. He can hit it super fast, and when he hits it with you, it hits it on you. Like, yeah. Because Macklin was out on the rent, too. He was like crawling out, and he was just he was still on the ground. So,
I'm excited for this feud.
Good match.
Me too, actually.
So, we're going to kind of back-to-back talk about these next two things. So first, we get our first vignette with Crazy Steve. I love Crazy. I love this whole presentation we're doing with Crazy Steve, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So Crazy Steve talks about, pretty much what he's been talking about, that nobody gets him. Like, he is not here for anything else. He's literally just being Crazy Steve, which is what I love. And then I had to pause real quick because then Rhino shows up. And then essentially this sets up that Rhino will be the first person to challenge Crazy Steve for the Digital Media Championship. I am going to be cautiously optimistic. I'm not too sure about this, but you know what? I want to give this a chance. And if that means we get more Crazy Steve on my television, I'm not going to complain. So there was that. And then the next thing, we enter into the realm of what in the Andy Warhol pop art is. I was just like, because this Decay promo made me actually really happy. I really enjoyed it. We have Rosemary and Havoc cutting this promo. Rosemary's part of this whole thing is reminding the audience that we both went to the undead realm. We reclaimed what was missing. For Rosemary, she got the creepy factor back. And I loved Havoc's portion. She went to the undead wasteland to go back to her roots and remind all these knockouts that the knockouts tag team division is being put on notice because our undead spooky girls are back. I really love that they utilize all the places you can go in Las Vegas for this. I hope that becomes a staple wherever city they're taping their shows in. It's just like, this is where we're gonna go to film some stuff. But this makes me really excited because, don't get me wrong, I loved Courtney and Jessica when we were back in the Impact days. But I am going to be honest, I am so happy that Decay is back with this version with Havoc and Rosemary. God. And technically, we only have 2 knockouts in the tag team division. Well, maybe 3 after tonight, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this revitalized it. I was like, I forgot that the knockouts tag team division can be a lot of fun when you're given time. And I'm so happy that our girls are back. Speaking of girls, I want to take a moment because, once again, we got to see another match that was great. So this was a knockouts tag team match. This saw Danny Luna and Jody Threat taking on MK Ultra. As soon as this was announced last week of this is what we were getting, it was like, oh, Danny and Jody are about to get choked out, aren't they? But I gotta say, this was more back and forth than I thought it was going to be. It was short, but this is pretty good. Jody Threat is starting to grow on me so much. Like, I'm actually becoming a huge fan of hers, and I love that we're giving Jody a chance. I really liked this match. It was nice to see it, and I was a little worried because I wasn't sure how I felt about MK Ultra losing the titles. But then when you couple the match with what we saw afterwards, I was like, nah, our girls are going to be fine.
Yeah, this, I wasn't sure because, you know, we talked previously about throwing together tag teams, but both tag team divisions in TNA are a little thin right now, but especially the Knockouts one. I don't hate the idea of Jody Threat and Danny Luna teaming together. They worked well together. They both have a really rough style, which I think could play really well, especially if they stay a tag team and they go against a group. Like, I mean, obviously we saw them against MK Ultra, but Decay is another powerhouse tag team. I didn't realize it, but they've actually wrestled each other before. And so, you know, like, they have that history. I looked it up, and so Jody Threat is 11 years older than Danny Luna, but she made her pro debut a year after Danny Luna.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was just an interesting thing to notice. And so I'd be interested to see what they could do together because it could be a really interesting combination. And I think because they're such a, you know, rough and tumble team, it was a really good win for MK Ultra to be able to, like, get back in the win column and kind of work their way up. And hopefully as they're doing that, we're going to see some introductions of some new tag teams because we're getting all these signings. Let's sign some more tag teams. Let's sign some more knockouts. Let's get some more knockouts tag teams. So I thought that was really good. It was a really good match for everyone involved. I will say I'm always nervous on MK Ultra's finish because they have, like, it's like a double power bomb but kind of a pile driver, and when they hit it on Danny Luna, that was almost a spike. Like,
that was gnarly. I got worried at that part. I was like, oh no. I was like, I know Danny Luna's a powerful girl, but we need to be careful because she almost landed on her head. Yeah,
for real. And I've become a huge fan of Danny Luna, so I'd hate to see any of them out there get injured, especially around the neck, because we've seen what that can do to some people. And she's young, and I think she's great, so I'd hate to see her get taken out that way. But it seemed like after the match she was fine. But yeah, I thought this was really great, and MK Ultra is so good. they're so good at being that tag team. Like, they just fit so well together. They mesh together the way that teams like FTR mesh together. Like, you see them and you're like, of course you're a tag team. Like, I don't want to see you not with each other.
So good. I loved it. I'm just happy to see our girls back on screen. And yeah, and then after they beat up Jody and win the match, and they beat up on, like you said, Andrew, they beat up on Danny Luna, and then the lights turn red. Everyone is bathed in red, and we get our Judy Jetson Hooker moment, as I call it, with MK Ultra just reveling in the violence. I was like, step on me harder. I'm like, what? The only reason I say this is because the formation of this team, people seem to forget, the formation of this team came at the culmination when they had a dog collar match. Like, come on, this is MK Ultra, aka Team Kinky, as I have called them in the past. Listen, and I've seen some people, they're like, I'm not too sure about the post-match beatdown. Shouldn't have happened. I'm like, yeah, they should. It's MK Ultra. They're going to beat down anyone and everyone. You want to cheer for them, and then you want them to step on you later. Like, that's how it works.
Well, they gotta look like that kind of tag team, because you gotta believe they're capable of that kind of stuff if they're gonna beat Decay.
That is very true. Yeah. Like, you gotta... What's the best way to counteract the supernatural? Lesbians. Just kidding.
If I learned anything from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that's what I learned.
Lesbians.
Yeah.
God, that show was so ahead of its time. I loved it so much. Then we get this is the second time we saw this, but I loved it so much. Then we get the bumpers for what to expect next week, and I was like, it's not just still images. We get a whole entire video package of everything that's happening. We get graphics. We get video previews. I was just like, in my head, I was just like, Will is right. Production level has increased a lot. Then we get to the main event, and holy crap, this match ended up being my match of the night. And I'm not ashamed to say it, because I knew Okada was in it. I was like, oh, this is definitely going to easily be match of the night. But I have to say, I thought Okada was going to carry for this match. All 6 people in this match really held it down. And I was just like, this is free television. What is happening? Like, how did we get this match on free TV? I need all the other promotions to look out for this, because you can have good pay-per-view worthy matches on television. And this
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. I don't understand. Like, my mind is blown right now just of how awesome this match was. I was so happy that TNA also continues to do the thing wherever Okada goes. It was just like, as soon as he's ready to hit the Rainmaker, it's like camera pans out.
Yes.
And there is some beautiful storytelling, especially for Okada, because as we mentioned last week when we were going over the matches that were happening this week, we briefly touched upon how the OG TNA during the Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, Dixie Carter days did not do Okada they didn't treat Okada very well. And we talked about what his gimmick was, and that was horrible. And then Okada gets to come back all these years later in TNA to have this match with probably, as much as I love, FTR balls and FTR aggravated assault charge, I have to say, for me personally, I think Motor City Machine Guns to me are the best tag team in the world, in my opinion, but that's because they've been at this for 20 plus years as a tag team. They can also be good singles wrestlers. That's crazy to me. But to team up with one of the best tag teams in the world, and probably the face of New Japan, well, not no more after what we learned. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to TNA a week later. Yeah, I'm leaving after January, guys. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
But this match ruled. Moose was killing it. I gotta say, surprisingly, my MVP for this match, and proved to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how good of a wrestler he was Ryan Myers. Brian Myers shocked the hell out of me with this match. Also, Eddie Edwards had my move of the night. Like, I forgot that the backpack stunner was a thing. and
Yeah.
that move was awesome. But okay, I don't want to keep talking because I'm gonna go on and on. I got to give everybody else a chance. So whoever wants the floor next, main event
Uh,
system, Motor City Machine Guns, Okada, go.
it's funny that you mentioned how tall Okada looked next to Motor City Machine Guns, because when they all squared up at the very beginning, my first thought was Okada's big. He's not a lot smaller than Moose. Like, they're pretty close in height. I mean, Moose has got a lot of bulk, but he's much bigger than you realize when you just see him by himself. I thought it was smart that the Motor City Machine Guns, like you talked about their experience at tag team wrestling, the way that being two smallish guys with four other large men being involved in the match, I thought it was smart the way they kind of isolated body parts of their opponents. So it was good storytelling there. I like that the system has that, they work really well together already as kind of that gang mentality. I enjoyed hearing Alicia Edwards out there. Not only was she cheering for Eddie, but there were moments when Brian Myers was in the ring and she was cheering for him. Like, she was trying to coach him too, like support the team. Like, you felt that unity of that faction, which was great. It's great. Like, they're working really well together. I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if you all noticed this, but the audience was chanting F the system, which you heard for the first half of the match. And then part of the way through, they started bleeping it.
Bleeping it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought at first Myers was saying something because he was standing in the ring. And I was like, oh, is he swearing? Is that where they're like editing it? And then I realized he wasn't talking. And I was like, oh, they're editing the audience, which is interesting. I was like, how come you didn't do that for the first part? Because we definitely heard it the first time that they were chanting it. So I thought that was kind of weird. I did not expect the people that lost this match to take the loss in this match. I was actually surprised. I thought they would pull it out even if it was through shenanigans. But and part of that is because now that we have this new faction, I want to see them, like, they need to be progressing. So hopefully they'll bounce back from this loss, and we'll get to see them do some more stuff with that. I kind of get it because, you know, this was Okada's big appearance here. But yeah, I was surprised by the ending. But yeah, it was a super solid match. Really liked it. And I'm excited for the 5 that are going to, well, 6 if you include Alicia, that are going to still be sticking around TNA and really keeping that quality here.
Will, your first introduction to Okada and this match, what did we think?
So good. So good. I like one of some of my highlights is when Okada was going against Moose and was literally like picking him up. It really kind of surprised me a little bit because, you know, it's funny because when the three of them, when the Motor City Machine Guns and Okada stood together, yeah, I mean, he's tall, and the funny thing about it is because, you know, Sabin and Shelly are kind of like stocky, you know, short and stocky, so it actually made Okada look super thin. And I was like, oh wow, he's like tall and skinny. And then when he was on his own, you could see how big he is actually. Because I was just like, oh wow, he's actually a big guy, like, you know, stocky. And I was like, wow. And then when he was taking on Moose and like literally picking him up and doing all that, I was just like, oh wow, he's got some power behind him, not just, you know, moves. I mean, he's got power. And I was like, wow, which made me just like him even more. And I agree, and I'll agree with the system's teamwork. Like, they're a team. I mean, it's like, yeah, with Alicia, she was cheering everyone on and egging them. It's like, get up, you know, you got this, come on. And I was like, which is so unusual for her. Because, you know, usually she's starting shit. And, like, you know, truly being like the aggressor and the antagonizer.
Yeah.
And here she's like being like super supportive and like I was just like, what is happening? This is where I was like, again, the system. I was like, what is going on with these guys? So, and I'm just like, I'm really kind of liking them a whole lot. And I didn't want to. That's my whole thing. I didn't want to like them because, and it's because it's made up of like, you know, your favorite heels, you know, that formed a club, and you're just like, oh, I hate all of you, and I don't want to like any of you. And then it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, I really kind of like you guys because I like how you work, and I like the fact that you're like supportive of each other, and you're, you know, and I was very much like, I loved how it ended. I loved how that the system lost, because the reason I like it is they didn't pull shenanigans.
Yeah.
Like they literally lost clean, you know, and there was no attempt to like screw the match up. There was no, you know, and I liked that because I was expecting shenanigans, like full on. I was like, they're gonna do something to win this match. I felt it. And then no, they like lost clean, and I was very like impressed by that just as much, because I was like, because they could have easily pulled shenanigans because there's like, you know, what, 800 of them, and like 3 of the others, and it was like easily could have done, and they didn't play dirty, which I really like that about them. And now if they maintain that, then I will like them even more, because if they're like, no, we're here to, you know, the system's here to help you, we're here to show you the way, you know, it's almost like a cult. But if they do it clean, then I will sign up. I was like, I'm here for the cult stuff. Sign me up. Do we have a pamphlet? Do something? Do I need to wear a sheet? What do I need to do? I don't know. I'll sign up with it. You know, I drink the blue Kool-Aid. Yeah, so I really this was my match of the night too, only because of just the sheer like talent that was in that ring, you know, and the show that they put on was just great. I mean, it was just fantastic. And Okada, you know, and I love the fact that, and Mikey, I'll agree with you too. I like the fact that Okada wasn't the centerpiece. You know, because I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be like a showcase, you know, and it wasn't at all. I was kind of impressed how little he was involved. You know, when he was involved, it was big and bold and bam, and then he tagged out, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I really like that too. I liked how I really like this. I love this whole match. It was just so good. It was really, really, really fun to watch, and interesting to watch all the little things that were happening story-wise around the ring. So I really liked it a lot.
It's funny, Will, the way you describe the system. It reminded me of a thought I had when they all came down together for this match. Looking at the color palette of their faction, it reminded me of an old faction. They wear the black and green. And when they came out, I was like, they're kind of in DX colors. And, you know, obviously there was a very different faction, but again, it was a heel faction that everyone loved, but they were still the bad guys. They were kind of they were an authority unto themselves, but against the authority of the company. So it's kind of interesting in that, like, those dynamics of the two different groups. But yeah,
it's good.
This match was awesome. And then I love when the internet wrestling community can actually get behind things and not be like a cesspool of like ill grossness when it comes to certain things, because I forget the Twitter name and the Twitter handle, but I want to, if I go back and find it, I'll make sure to put it in the credits. But someone who was there took a picture, you know, after cameras had went off air, and I love little beautiful moments of this. And they were telling that after the match, and you know, everything was said, like the Motor City Machine Guns and Kazuchika Okada like cut it like a off the air like thanking fans and all that. And Motor City Machine Guns left, and then Okada got out of the ring, went up the ramp halfway, and then came back in with everyone kind of filing out. Not for show, not for anything, but he kneels down in the center of the ring with the TNA logo. He kisses it, and then he like bows to respect it, and then he gets up and leaves. I was just like, I love getting to see behind the curtain moments like that. And especially for a lot of Japanese wrestlers too, like they're similar to Lucha Libre. There's a lot of honor when it comes to their wrestling too, and they respect the ring just like British wrestling scene does. If you notice a lot of the British wrestlers, and I noticed it with GYV during Hard to Kill, a lot of the British wrestlers will wipe their feet before entering the mat, and that's also just a European wrestling thing too. A lot of European wrestlers will wipe their feet before getting into the ring. And I love little nuances.
William
like
Regal.
That. Yeah, I was just like, William Regal also was doing that too. I was just like, I love little nuance with this. But yeah, so the Motor City Machine Guns and Okada celebrate in the ring, and it goes off in the air. And this was a great episode. Oh no, wait, we're not done yet, because then we start to we get hijacked. The feed gets hijacked. I'm like, what is happening? We start to see promos like a presidential special. Then I saw the picture of the flag, and then I had to make sure, because I was watching this during my prep period while I was grading papers, and I audibly yelled for the 8th graders to hear me from across the hallway, because I saw that flag, I gasped, and then, the voiceover comes, and then in comes Mustafa Ali to end the segment. I'm Mustafa Ali, and I approve this message, and I kid you not, you two, I screamed, because I was so happy. And thanks to Andrew for being our resident news person, we now know that Mustafa Ali has signed on to do 6 shows with TNA. And we have all the dates. So Mustafa Ali is going to be at No Surrender. So there's going to be a match there, which I'm excited for. He's going to be at the Fallout tapings in New Orleans the following day. He's also going to be at the Sacrifice pay-per-view in March. And then he is doing the Fallout tapings for that. And then he's doing both days at the Philadelphia tapings at the end of March. Guys, I am so excited to see Mustafa Ali do this world tour. And Andrew, me and you have talked. We know we have a history with Mustafa Ali. Will, me and you have a history with Mustafa Ali because he was in NXT for a good chunk at the time before he got released. All 3 of us collectively love Mustafa Ali, and I am so excited to see who he ends up facing within these 6 shows that he's doing.
Hearing those dates, even if it's a short run, if they can't get him signed for anything, because I know he's got other gigs he's literally doing a world
The first
tour.
quarter, he's booked the first quarter of this year.
So I would not hate him going into the first pay-per-view appearance or big show appearance, challenging and winning that X Division title and carrying it for that period of time he's going to be there. And then if he drops it when his agreements are done or something, but let that man get a title and carry it for a while, because everything from, when he was being misused on the main roster, when he and everybody else on 205 Live was getting just overlooked, I'm as excited for him as I was with Nickneth. The fact that we already got Nickneth and Mustafa Ali, and we're only 1 month into 2024, come on now, that's so good. Good job, Scott. Good job, TNA.
Yep.
I was like, TNA is just killing it right now for me. I don't care if someone calls me a shill for saying that. They have collectively done so much within 3 weeks than most major companies have done in the last 5 years. And honestly, for me personally, it comes down to relationship building. Scott D'Amore, and we talked about this during Hard to Kill, Scott D'Amore worked his butt off to repair the relationship between TNA and all the other companies that got destroyed during the Dixie Carter era, during the Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan era. And even though Jeff Jarrett tried, also the relationships destroyed during that era. So he worked his butt off to try to fix everything. And now look what we have. TNA has rebranded itself. It has been brought back since 2011. We have a partnership with AAA that we learned from Hard to Kill. They still have an open door policy for any New Japan and other independent people who want to stop by for a little bit. And they're not a stickler, be like, you have to sign a whole year contract. But which I love that TNA is one of the few companies that allows part-time contracts, like per appearance, like you get 6 months with us, and then if you want to go somewhere else, it's cool. And I love that they're not afraid to give people a chance. They're like, hey, we saw that you didn't get used properly. Why don't you stay with us for a little bit and see how you like it? And what I always like too is underneath Scott D'Amore's reign, he never has badmouthed people who have stayed for a bit and decided, this is not the place for me. But I've never heard a wrestler talk about a bad experience they had in TNA underneath Scott D'Amore. Like, it's always a pleasant experience. And I will always say this till the day I die. Booker of the Year for me always goes to Scott D'Amore, because you consistently book your men's and women's divisions really, really well. And even though we have some slight problems with certain characters and things like that, can't really say a bad negative thing about TNA, like at this point in day and age. Gentlemen, this brings us to the end. So now we gotta rate this episode. So, out of 10, whether you want to do empanadas or just, the regular out of 10 scale here on the Bi-Conics. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to go backwards. William, not the Defoe. You are the first to go.
First of all, it's Willem, not William.
Fair.
Defoe.
Well, excuse me, princess.
Just saying.
That's fair. No, you're right.
Okay, so I actually gave this an 8.5. Because it would have been higher, but, that thing happened. Because I thought that overall, even with that little blemish, I thought the episode flowed well. I thought that there was a good balance of backstage, in ring. I thought all the matches, again minus the one, were super strong. The entertaining. I had a great time. And this episode didn't feel an hour and a half long. I mean, it didn't. And I thought that speaks volumes. And I love the new production value of TNA. I love that they've got that endorsement money coming in and they're using it. And I think that's fantastic. Because, the more I really believe that TNA is going to give some of these other major companies a run for the money. I really do, especially with all these signings they're doing, with these big name signings. I mean, TNA is coming, man. They're coming for you. And I'm thinking you all need to be nervous because it's good. I mean, that's the big thing I like about them. Just so to get off the topic, is I think that TNA is so consistent with their sort of programming and how they do things, and they keep things interesting, they keep things flowing, and I think that unlike some of the other companies, they are far better at it. It's like I enjoy watching the TNA stuff because of that, because it's consistent. It's not, except when they do clip shows, obviously, but when they're doing like regular episodes, it's exciting, and every episode something surprises me. I'm sorry, like the old Giselle Shaw coming in with the Chantourage and like whooping Trinity and Jordan Grace. I was like, what the hell just happened? So it surprises me every damn episode. Something will surprise me, and I love that. I love that they keep us on our toes, and they're always like dare I say, reinventing themselves literally every episode. And it's like you see something new that's like, oh, I've never seen that before. Oh my god, it's like, oh my god, look what that happened. So I love that. I love it. So that's why I gave this one 8.5 because I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah. Now I'm gonna go Dublin.
Yeah, no, I agree. I gave it an 8.5 as well. Last week set the bar really high. I gave it a 9.5 last week, but that ending with that match and that promo, I mean, that's hard to match. But I agree too. The production value, having a promo like the Ash by Elegance one, then having the Mustafa Ali one at the end, like they're just really well done production values. Getting these big names in there, getting to see them wrestle, like this might trigger Mikey a little bit, but I think one of the things that TNA does really well is they have their really good stable of people who are TNA contracted wrestlers, but they have the benefit that indies have in the sense that they're like, we're going to do these big shows. Oh, you want to come over and do one show with us? That's cool. And they'll and that's how they get people like Will Ospreay, Okada. Like they get these big names popping in. They get legends coming back because they don't have this like, oh well, if you're gonna come wrestle for us, you got to stay here and sign a multi-year contract or something, or we're just gonna pretend like your world doesn't exist. They have that benefit of being flexible, and bringing things in to keep it exciting, and and I think it makes it fun for the wrestlers because a lot of them are friends with these other people too. So it's like they get a chance to perform with people they don't always get a chance to, or on a stage that's different. I think this night was a really fun night of matches, and the best part of these last two, like the first two real shows of TNA, is we're getting to really see they're building to what 2024 is going to be like for TNA, which I love that. We're getting some like the beginnings of, we're getting the introductions of long format storytelling and character development, which I think is so important, and we don't always get that from all of the other promotions. So it just has me so pumped for what TNA is going to do with this rebirth. And so far they seem to be off on the right foot. So I'm super excited about it.
Well said, and I agree with both of you. I also gave this an 8.5. I think last week's episode, as you said, Andrew, set the bar really high, and the consistency was just as good for the second week's episode. And to have another killer main event as you did, and this was all one night of tapings, may we add, because it was all in one night, separated into two shows. I was just like, wrestling fans who attended this Fallout to the Snake Eyes tapings, like they ate good that night, as the kids say. Like, oh my goodness, so good. I'm just really excited to see what comes next. And spoiler alert, I opened up social media site. They already have like placards for everything for some of the stuff next week. We're getting Nickneth versus Trey Miguel, the first match of the 2 out of 3. We're gonna hear from Frankie Kazarian next week, as he stated. I'm like, I love me some good consistency. I'm just excited. And spoiler alert, these are going to be the first tapings from the Orlando event, the 2 nights of Orlando, may I add. There's like 20 matches, I think, each night, so we're getting a good chunk of taping. See, boys, this brings us to the end of this week's Takedown Troop review. This was a bit of a long one, but I don't care. TNA is good, and it's nice to talk about things that we actually like in professional wrestling for once. If you enjoyed this review, you can check out everything else we have here at the Bi-Conics YouTube wrestling channel. You can follow us all over the social media at BC WrestlePod. You can drop us a subscribe and become a Patreon member to see our watch-alongs of all these pay-per-view reviews. And we may or may not have some special projects in the works to come through a future date. More on that later. And then, of course, if you want to hear our audio versions of everything, because you can't commit to see our beautiful faces, let our voices for radio carry you through your workday, work week, whatever you want to call it. And subscribe to wherever your favorite podcasting network is, because we pretty much are everywhere at this point. We're even on Amazon Music. It's really crazy. But This has been Mikey. As always, from myself, Andrew, and Will, and the rest of the Bi-Conics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, stay Bi-Conic, you beautiful he, she's, theys, and gays of the world. We'll see you for the next Takedown Troop review, but until then, ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.